Welcome to The Explainer. We're diving into a topic today that sits right at the dead center of modern life. I mean, if you've ever felt like you're sprinting on a treadmill that just keeps speeding up, even though you're already working 50 or 60 hours a week, yeah, you're in the right place. We kind of tend to internalize this exhaustion, right? We assume that if we're constantly drained, just rushing from one thing to the exact next thing, well, it must mean we're disorganized, or worse, just inherently lazy. But actually, scratch that. Today we're deconstructing that exact assumption. We're going to break down this cycle of overwhelm and people-pleasing, and we'll use some incredibly practical frameworks to map out how you can literally reclaim your time. And spoiler alert, fixing this isn't about downloading yet another productivity app. It's about fundamentally rewiring how you respond to the people around you.
So think about this. Have you ever looked at your calendar for the week and instantly felt this heavy weight just drop right onto your chest? You know that visceral, physical sensation? Your breathing gets a little shallower, and this profound sense of dread washes over you before the day even begins. It's that completely suffocating feeling that you're just drowning in obligations. And look, society has basically conditioned us to believe that this state of perpetual breathlessness is just the price of entry for being a successful adult. We buy into this narrative that if your schedule isn't bursting at the seams, you somehow aren't doing enough or you aren't important enough. But based on what we're looking at today, that assumption is just fundamentally broken.
We really have to dismantle this myth that chronic burnout is some sort of adult badge of honor. The uncomfortable reality we're confronting here is that chronic overwhelm is rarely a scheduling problem. No, it is almost always a boundary problem. It's fueled by a deeply ingrained habit of people-pleasing. There's a hidden reason your life feels like a constant spinning emergency, and it honestly has absolutely nothing to do with your time management skills. The real reason you're overwhelmed is a behavioral loop. You're prioritizing everyone else's momentary comfort over your own baseline needs. But hey, here's the most empowering part of this whole realization. Because this is a learned behavior, it's something you can actively unlearn. You're absolutely not trapped in this dynamic.
Which brings us to the hidden trap, the fear of disappointing others. Let's look at the underlying psychology behind why we do this to ourselves. To truly break this cycle, we really need to understand the dynamic of momentary discomfort. Look, human beings are deeply social creatures. From an evolutionary standpoint, our brains are literally hardwired to view social rejection as a threat to our survival. So, when someone asks you for a favor, and you even consider saying no, your brain anticipates the frown, the sigh, maybe a brief flash of disappointment. And to avoid that 5 seconds of awkwardness, boom, we instantly say yes. But we're completely ignoring the massive long-term cost here. Every single time you say yes to an obligation you just do not have the capacity for, you are actively saying no to your own peace of mind. You're saying no to your rest and your own priorities. You're trading days or even weeks of your personal well-being just to escape a fleeting moment of social friction.
Let's ground this in a real-world scenario. Imagine it's Friday afternoon. You are completely exhausted, ready to log off for the weekend, and ping! A coworker asks if you can help them review a massive presentation over the weekend. Instead of pausing, that panic-driven reflex kicks in. The fear of being seen as unhelpful just completely overrides your exhaustion, and you say yes instantly. Well, the cost is immediate, and it's devastating. Your entire weekend, gone. Your stress hormones spike, your nervous system stays in overdrive, and you spend the next 3 days practically vibrating with resentment. You're frustrated at your coworker for asking, sure, but deep down you are fiercely frustrated at yourself for caving. That right there, that is the exact painful cycle of overwhelm in action.
So, how do we actually fix this? Let's move to solution 1, the protective buffer. We need a system to effectively interrupt that panic-driven reflex. 24. This is your new magic number. Behavioral experts refer to this as the 24-hour pause. See, the reason you constantly overcommit is that you're making decisions while your brain is basically in a state of mild social panic. You're in fight-or-flight people-pleasing mode. So to break that automatic habit loop, you're no longer allowed to say yes to anything in the moment. Not to a coworker, not to a friend asking you to organize a neighborhood event, literally no one. You are going to enforce a strict 24-hour pause on all incoming requests. This physiological break is required to let your nervous system calm down so your logical brain can actually re-engage.
And here is your new default script. I would love to, but let me check my schedule and get back to you tomorrow. Memorize it. Burn it into your brain. Now, I'm going to be completely honest with you. The first few times you deploy this, it's going to feel excruciatingly awkward. You're going to feel this intense urge to just apologize and cave. But this script is a total game changer because it's polite, it's professional, and it's entirely non-confrontational. It buys you time without saying no directly, which completely removes the immediate social pressure of having someone standing right in front of you just waiting for your compliance.
Because what you're truly gaining here is cognitive space.
Most of us suffer from immense decision fatigue, right? It makes us highly susceptible to just agreeing to whatever is put in front of us. This buffer gives you a chance to step back into your own life. You finally get a moment to breathe alone in a quiet room. Look at your actual calendar without anyone watching you and honestly evaluate your capacity. Do you genuinely have the time, the emotional bandwidth, and the energy to take this on? It moves you from an emotional, reactive response driven by guilt to a logical, capacity-driven decision based on reality.
But what if you're already in deep? What if your calendar is already a total disaster? That brings us to solution 2, the purge.
When you're drowning in overwhelm, everything feels equally urgent. And that means you need a complete life admin reset. Step 1. Carve out 1 hour this weekend. Turn off your phone, close your laptop, and sit down with a physical piece of paper. You need a tactile experience away from digital notifications. Step 2. Do a massive brain dump. Just write down every single commitment taking up mental real estate, work projects, social events, or that neighborhood committee you joined 3 years ago strictly out of guilt. Step 3. Be utterly ruthless. Find at least 2 things on that list that are completely draining your energy and actively bringing you zero joy, and decide right then and there to cancel them.
And hey, the hesitation you're feeling right now? Completely normal. The thought of backing out is terrifying. But you must send the uncomfortable text. Make the uncomfortable phone call. Remember that evolutionary blind spot we talked about? You have to be willing to endure 5 seconds of sharp, momentary discomfort to reclaim your weekend, your peace, and your sanity. Yes, your heart rate will absolutely spike right before you hit send. But I promise you, the second that message goes through, you are going to experience a massive, overwhelming rush of relief. The temporary awkwardness of canceling is a tiny, tiny price to pay compared to the chronic, soul-crushing burnout of keeping a commitment that's destroying your mental health.
Which brings us to the core takeaway of today's explainer. Protect your time and your nervous system like it is your most valuable asset, because frankly, it is. It's the only thing that allows you to show up as your best self for the things that actually matter. You really don't have to live your life in a constant, breathless state of overwhelm. It isn't a life sentence, it's just a habit. By intentionally implementing the 24-hour pause, short-circuiting that automatic yes, and being brave enough to execute a life admin reset, you are building an impenetrable fortress around your well-being. You are finally taking back the steering wheel.
So I want to leave you with a final, very direct question to think about. What is one thing you are going to say no to this week? Don't just think about it as a nice idea. Make a concrete decision right now. Identify the commitment that's draining you, declare your boundary, and hold yourself accountable starting today. Reclaiming your life begins with a single, deeply uncomfortable, incredibly powerful no. Thank you so much for joining me for this explainer. Go start building that muscle today, and I'll see you next time.